So I've just got to say, like, I googled earlier "wee bam," and I've just come back to the tab, and I have to say, Google image searching it has shed no light whatsoever on what the term actually means.
Neither it should, really. It's a vibe.
Now, wee man, I'm very familiar with him and his his work.
Have you just somehow managed to fucking come onto like a bunch of Wee Man and Bam Margera?
Do you know what? When I was typing it in, that was what I was expecting. But no, it's like
slash pic.
There's a picture of a woman wearing a shirt, and like that's it, and you can't see anything like apart from like the top of her legs. And there's a guy also doing the same thing, and it's like, okay, a shirt.
I've got absolutely no fucking idea what
whatever.
anyone's talking about.
No, neither does anybody. You have to be fucking Scottish, I think, for that.
No, you just have to turn up on time, then you'll find out what we're fucking talking about.
No deal.
Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David. I am here with Rob.
Hello.
Jamie.
All right.
James.
Hello.
And Alistair.
Yeah, if anyone knows what a wee bam is, please write in.
No, it's a secret. National secret. You don't get to know.
Alistair doesn't get to know these things.
No.
Are they all stored in Fastlane? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, we have a national stockpile reserve of wee bams. It's carefully preserved.
See, people think it's in Faslane, but it's actually just down the road slightly in Coolport.
Oh, is this just someone mentioned wee bams and Alistair got confused? Is that what's going on?
Yes, that's
all
what's
right. Fair
happened,
enough. Then. I thought it was like I thought we were doing an episode on like some sort of fucking like tech startup or something.
You are aware that which podcast this is not, right, Jamie?
Sorry, I'm now having a mental image of like we work, but it's wee bams. It's like rent a bam, essentially.
Rent a bam. Oh, pitch that. Right, okay. We are going to do a couple of little news stories and then on to the main topic, which is going to melt everybody's brains, which is on the concept of the Progressive Alliance, which we touched on a little bit when we spoke about Change UK in the bonus episode, which is out now. Join the Patreon for access.
This is another episode about fucking politics, is it?
I mean, I've got some bad news for you, Jeremy.
Yeah, and once again, I don't know how to tell you.
93 episodes and the pennies finally dropped.
It's too fucking hot for this bullshit. Do you know what I mean? Can we not just talk? I watched Point Break last night. Can we talk about that?
We're not doing this. No.
What if I pretend it's a climate catastrophe?
We're not doing that either. Rob, what have you got for news?
All right, so it's been another week of policy and organisational hilarity from our favourite junk show organisation, the Labour Party. They are apparently going to be sacking 90 out of about 400 staff, and apparently the party's down to about 1 month's worth of cash reserves, which is why everybody's getting sacked. And to replace them, they're bringing in a whole bunch of scabs through a recruitment agency to work part-time for them instead.
Huh, weird how they've run out of money in a party that was apparently at the end, just after Keir Starmer took over, had like millions of pounds in the bank.
I think somewhere between 10 and 50 million quid, something like that. But it's been especially amazing because apparently the new thing, finally we're getting that policy back, is that there's a lab.
Singular.
Yeah, but it's the new focus is on dignity in work and having a 10 quid minimum wage. And it's like, all right then, but if you're sacking your own staff, that doesn't really sound like something you're very serious about.
A 10 quid minimum wage would have been an amazing policy in the fucking 90s.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, 15 quid, I think, is reasonably agreed that that's like the bare minimum that people should be having to live on.
And let me just add to this. I am assuming that they're not going to do anything about the fact that you get paid a different minimum wage depending on your age.
Oh, God, no. They fucking hate young
why
people.
Would they do that?
Why would they do that? I mean, the most amazing thing of this was that apparently not at all corrupt man David Evans did an amazing email to the whole staff where he said, well, upper management is not taking a salary cut because we need to attract the talent necessary to run the party. It's just like, what?
Yeah. But in very small subtext, it was run this party into the ground, and they seem to be doing a stellar job of doing that.
Didn't his email to the staff complain about someone leaking and damaging the fucking party?
Yes.
Yeah. They were angry because the staff found out about this through The Guardian, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
And the union, this is even better part.
Instead of hearing it directly from Big Davy Racisms like God intended.
Yeah. Well, also, the union, the staff union, had to hear about it from The Guardian, and that's a big no-no. Like, if you're serious about labour organising, you're serious about working with unions, the way you're meant to be if you're the fucking Labour Party...
Then you've already been kicked out of the Labour Party.
Yeah, right. Like, you're meant to talk to the unions first, and the unions don't tell the members until they have the initial negotiations. Instead, none of that happened.
But again,
a policy that would make me vote for the Labour Party would be Dignitas in work.
Is that a management perk?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of management, their new director of strategy, Deborah Mattison, we talked about her before. She's the one who asked focus groups whether to describe politicians as animals, and Boris was a sheep and Starmer was an eagle.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that sounds like a job, like, just fucking overflowing with dignity, doesn't it?
The eagle in question was Sam the Eagle.
No, I think it's fair to call him an eagle because he is fucking terminally, politically, and spiritually bald.
Hey. But yeah, so this came via Private Eye. Apparently, she did a few other things as well. She was employed in the Miliband era as well.
Good. That was successful.
When the Miliband project, of course, didn't quite work out, her recommendation was Labour has failed on the economics, so what the Labour Party should do is to get a Tory to write the review of Labour's economic policy so they can improve.
Holy shit. Why don't we just get...
No. Alistair, it's better. It gets better than that.
Oh, no.
They were then supposed to take on everything the Tory had said and effectively apologise for getting it wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was her other big policy recommendation, is to, like, Labour should apologise for the missteps in the past, and I genuinely think that's part of the reasons why every time there's a fucking Labour MP anywhere near a camera or a microphone, they just can't stop falling over themselves and flagellating. Like, it's amazing. I think that's genuinely where this is coming from. Which is
I think that was during the time of Harriet Harman and that, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's back now.
Which is why they went so hard in on the whole, like, just not opposing things like sanctions on benefits and shit like that, because they had to seem contrite about losing an election for some reason.
Yeah, that and appearing serious about the economy. And everybody knows that the best way to stimulate an economy is to kick people out of their houses and institute a bedroom tax.
Well, it's true. Otherwise, how are those landlords going to buy those properties?
It's been a fucking banner week for landlords as well. Jesus Christ. It came from My London, which is like a London-based news website by a journalist called Dan Wiggins. There's new research out that in London alone, there's 30,000 homes sitting empty for at least 6 months. Mm-hmm. Total value of the assets, of course, because they're empty, is still £15 billion worth of housing. It's just fucking sitting there for...
Comrades, comrade. Wait, oh, sorry.
It's ridiculous.
Sorry.
Can we expropriate this shit yet or not?
Nah, Alistair, I missed entirely what you were saying because I just heard the sound of a guillotine going thunk, thunk, thunk repeatedly.
Sorry, what was the figures there? How many properties?
30,000 empty homes for at least 6 months. Total value of the assets, £15 billion worth.
Oh, they're worth £500,000 each.
Yeah, that sounds... Yeah, so London... But, I mean, this includes, like, the City of London has the highest empty rate of all the London boroughs. So the heart of London...
there were no homes there.
No, there's like a couple thousand people who live there in the Barbican and stuff. There's got a couple thousand homes. Southwark is number 2 with nearly 2,400 empty homes. And then Camden, nearly 1,500.
Yeah, fucking Southwark is, like... chomping at the bit to try and fucking increase the number of fucking vacancies, the rate at which they're kicking people out of their homes.
Yeah, I mean, it's fucking insane because the latest numbers from Crisis, which is the rough sleeping and homeless charity, is that there are, give or take, 165,000 people in London living in temporary accommodation, 90,000 of whom are kids. So, like, 30,000 empty homes, if 90,000 are kids, that's
This is great off the back of like stories of people being functionally made homeless or kicked out onto the street by councils for not doing things like turning up to viewings
that's literally
in cities like 180 miles away.
That's literally what I wanted to talk about next. That specific fucking thing. This is disgusting. This is Waltham Forest Council. Anybody want to guess who runs?
I already know this. It's Stella Creasy and every single one of her fucking acolytes.
Yeah, it is. They felt at least that they had to evict a family of 5, including 3 young children, from their temporary home because they didn't attend
hand-wringing fucking coward cunts. Every single one of them.
Because they were kicked out because they failed to attend a flat viewing in Stoke-on-Trent because the father had got like a new set of work commitment, so he just started a new job, and he said,
right, for people who. For certain people, obviously not me, who don't know about geography south of the M8, what's the distance there? How far away?
Where's the M8?
Up here.
So yeah, the total difference between Waltham Forest and Stoke-on-Trent is 170 miles.
Oof.
So obviously very convenient if you've just accepted a new job in the
area. I'm sure the public transport links are adequate.
Yeah, but isn't that what they say, like, on your bike? Is that why they say that? I don't know.
Well, they may or may not be, because there was a story out a while ago that apparently there's not enough money to finish the full HS2, so they might not be able to link it all the way up far north as they were originally planning. So
no one lives up north anyway. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
Like, who would have thought the north would need transport links? Like, and who would have thought that when push comes to shove, the one place that wouldn't get the transport links would be the north? Funny that. Strange how that works.
Yeah.
I would say, really, that it's a good thing. The north's better off without a link to the south, and that way people just will stay away. And that's what you'd like. Let's just have an east to west northern link and just ignore the north-south bit.
I'm good with that.
Maybe we should just like separate the north away from the south. There's a thought, possibly.
I mean, if you don't have a real link, that's one less way for the English to come in.
Yeah, James, I feel like you've come on this podcast with an agenda.
I do indeed have an agenda, and the agenda is to break up England. Like, that is both my employer's agenda and happily one that I think I can get behind too.
I think a good agenda to get behind would be everyone still in the Labour Party deserves to be beaten with sticks.
I too can get behind that. That's good. Yeah. That includes you, the listener, by the way. You too will be beaten with sticks.
If you're in the Labour Party.
If you're in the Labour Party.
And maybe if you're not, so don't take the chance.
Yeah. And if you're a listener who's not on the Patreon yet, you'll be beaten for now with straws. Flimsy ones, but we're moving up in the penalty ranks. So yeah, I just want to briefly come back to the fucking Waltham Forest thing, because Councillor Louise Mitchell, responsible for housing and homelessness prevention at Waltham Forest Council, so bang up job you're doing. I'll just read her.
That is preventing the homeless from existing.
I was just going to say, her job sounds like it's to put fucking spikes on park benches.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Establish a team from the council who drive around at 6 p.m. every night planting landmines in shop doorways.
Fuck's sake.
But yeah, I'll just read you in brief a part of her statement and see if you can work out what the real priorities of Waltham Forest Council are. We work hard to provide accommodations for residents who request assistance. Our preference is to house every household locally. However, demand for housing in London far outstrips supply, and we regret that it is not always possible to place people in the borough. Alongside our duty to offer accommodation to those in need, we also have a duty to make sure council taxpayer money is being used in a sustainable and reasonable way, and we can continue to provide the essential day-to-day services on which all our residents rely.
Shove it up your fucking arsehole, quite frankly.
I fucking love the distinction between what is a public good and the taxpayer, as though those are two things that never the twain shall meet.
Fuck the taxpayer owes us that money, right? So just, you know what I mean? Everyone just pay your taxes and shut the fuck up about what it gets spent on.
Well, bins are critical.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Remember when bin men were hard and came every week? Yeah.
But that's the fucking thing, though. Like, the 70s, you know, the year that the bin died, the decade that the bin died, rather, is
they wrote a song about
held
that.
up. Yeah, held up as, like, this, you know, decade of abyss that never will we return ever.
Yeah, when the dead went unburied and the bins went unemptied, and at some point we had to...
this comes up, right? This comes up periodically, right? And I've been sitting on this for a while, but I think it's time I spilt the beans here.
Spilt the beans about the bins.
Yes.
In the bin.
And it's like, it's not that the bins didn't get emptied for a week and that was the horror of the world. They don't get, like, actually, that was a minor annoyance. But what it symbolises, the idea that bin men, of all people, could come together and defy their betters, that's the fucking problem, right? That's what actually winds them up. That's the horror they don't want to return to. That even bin men who, remember, in British society, for those of you who are listeners from abroad, in British society, you don't want to be a bin man is like the kind of shit they say at school or your family.
Yeah,
I
heard that as
it's
well.
considered to be the worst profession.
Yeah, fuck you,
right?
Robert Webb, by the way, for being a huge piece of shit and saying...
Shit about that.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, right? But at the same time, it's not just fuck Robert Webb, it's fuck wider British society, because in British society...
especially fuck Robert Webb.
Well,
like, if I ever meet that prick...
Sorry, I'm just mentally picturing that and enjoying that image. Anyway, but like this is the thing. In British society, there is a status hierarchy, and like by general consensus, the lowest position is bin man.
Yeah.
Right? That is, if you're a bin man, you get no respect.
Well, or
because you're just
or a
carting away
migrant
other people.
in general.
Yeah. Well, okay, actually, here's the thing. Has a job status hierarchy is bin man. Doesn't have a job, it's migrant.
Yeah,
essentially,
all right, that's fair.
is the way it works.
Yep.
And that's how they do the distinction.
Well, you used to not be able to become a migrant, like, but obviously now that Priti Patel can strip you of British citizenship, so long as you've looked at a map at some point, technically you could now become a migrant. So it's possible to say that is the case.
Yeah.
Now that London is flooding, you can definitely become a migrant pretty soon.
But so to kind of top it off, what they are really complaining about is the idea that these lowest of the low in their eyes could dare come together, defy their betters, self-organize. Like, this is an upending of the order of heaven in their eyes. And that's what that shit's all about. You know? It's not actually about the fucking bins getting emptied. It's about the people who society have decided are in charge of carting away our shit. How dare they demand better conditions?
Just while we're on that note of like the bins being like the lowest thing you could be, I think that's a generational thing, because like I think I can remember like hearing that from my grandparents or something, but like from my parents and maybe like people around my parents' age, it was always working in McDonald's was the lowest
There's
of the
a bit
low.
of that too.
And then like I can also vividly fucking remember why don't you apply for a job at McDonald's when I was initially looking for a job. So it's like,
yeah, I know.
It's
Right?
just
What do you know what that actually means when they say that? Why don't you just apply for a job at McDonald's or something? It's why don't you know your place? Is what that is. Why don't you just shut up and take it?
Yep.
You know?
Yep,
why don't you get you know?
Yeah, if you're not prepared to just go like turn up at a bunch of businesses with your CV in hand and magic your way into a job like your fucking granddad did, then why don't you just like fucking, do you know what I mean? Go down
I
the
managed
shit
to do
mine.
that precisely once, and it was my very
Same.
first job, and only because I lucked into a pub that had just recently sacked someone else.
Oh no, I misunderstood you. I actually went round shops once with a CV. I did that in my
Jesus.
life because it was the only way to get them to shut
Did
up.
that get you anywhere?
It was about as fruitful. No, absolutely
I
fucking
didn't
not.
think so,
right?
but yeah.
You know, but if it was a way to shut them up, then you know you do what you have to do, sort of thing, right?
In that job, I
So-
get paid like £4 something an hour, worked insane shifts, was left in charge of a Rangers pub, like at the age of fucking 18, and like there myself,
Ooh.
basically. Yeah, not fun, not good.
Oh man.
And then I got sacked because the owner had come in to the pub when he wasn't supposed to, because licensing laws prevent you, the owner, from actually coming in and drinking in your own pub in Scotland. He came in, he got steaming, he was in and out of the office all night, and then the next morning the float was down, and this was my fault. So I get sacked for a tenner being missing, apparently. I think it was an excuse to get rid of me. Or he genuinely did just come in and fucking lift that out. But fuck you, Robert.
Yeah, Rob.
Yes, my illustrious history as a Scottish pub landlord. Now I just
And Rangers supporter, apparently, which I think is far worse.
I'm just trying to imagine Rob running a pub in a place he can't pronounce. I bet that went over gangbusters with the locals.
Genuinely, I think if you tossed Rob into like a Rangers pub at like high tide, so to speak, you would never see him again.
I'd be alright.
Like he'd just.
He's
Rob's
Dutch.
gonna do this.
He's an Orangeman.
Oh shit! Yeah. No, that actually is. Dear God,
I
we
swear
picked the
no
one
allegiance
person
to
on.
King Billy. You people can all get the fuck out. What is this?
All right, never mind then. Never mind. He had a Teflon defense spare, and it's gone.
Yeah, anyway, speaking of people who cart away waste or indeed do not do so, this was last week, but Southern Water, one of our lovely privatised water companies for efficiency, of course, roughly responsible for Kent, Sussex, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, they've been fined £90 million for dropping between 16 and 21 billion litres of raw sewage directly into the oceans and the seas, including protected
How did
marine
they get
areas.
their hands on my mentions?
And have they paid that fine?
They promise they will, and they promise that it will come out.
Oh well, say no more about it. Then I'm satisfied with that outcome.
I'm no lawman, but as far as I understand it, you can promise anything.
Yeah, I mean, they even promised that they wouldn't yank up water prices to pay for it, but that they would actually pinky promise pay for it themselves.
Oh yeah, that's kind of profits, isn't it?
And then water prices will go up for an unrelated reason. You know,
but they'll pay for it with profits made in previous years. So, like, you, the consumer, are paying for their bullshit, whatever is going on. So, you know, they're just promising not to increase your water prices in the future. This is like it took the Environment Agency many years to put this case together because the company worked against them every single way. The Environment Agency, by the way, in the last couple of years has had their budget cut from 120 to 40 million. Not, you know, that.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Not, you know, that the environment in the UK is in any way in trouble or anything. One of the reasons they thought it would be safe to do those kinds of cuts is, from what I understood while reading the stories about this, is I think that water companies are meant to do self-reporting.
Sounds about right.
Including when they commit crimes. So they just have to tell on themselves.
Yeah.
Donning my Joker makeup before I report myself committing a crime.
Unironically, sending the email to the ombudsman and attaching mycrimes.pdf.
No, I mean, let's be honest. Like, there were some people at the Environment Agency who did like stellar, fucking, very hard work to put this thing together, and, you know, credit to people in public agencies who do the right thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, but here's what you need to understand about regulation generally, and this is not specific to the water companies. This actually happens all over the shop, right? You are like, so much of the way our regulation is structured in the UK, and actually across a lot of Western democracies, let's be real, there's not someone looking for crimes taking place on the whole, with rare exceptions, like, for example, you know, the Environmental Protection Agency or equivalent.
And the DWP.
Yeah, well, no, hold on there. They're not looking for crimes. Let's be clear on that. Yeah, you can unpack that one yourself, listener. No, like, essentially, there's this whole thing where it's like you've got to report your own crimes. It even applies to GDPR and to, like, data protection, where you're meant to report a breach when you have a breach happen. And, there's penalties for not reporting stuff when it happens. And it's whether it's GDPR, whether it's water, or all the rest of it, they have penalties baked in. But it creates a perverse system whereby you only have to report if you're pretty confident you can't get away with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's by design.
Right, so what you're saying here is that we need, for all public utilities, a dedicated NKVD.
Well, first of all, David, they need to all be public utilities. I think that's the real fucking problem here with, you know, the water companies, right?
You know what
it should be nationalised.
Like, I want to stress also that, like, for Southern Water in particular, this was not the first time. Before they got caught in this one, they'd racked up 168 criminal offences and cautions in the years since they went private. So these are... Let me just give you a few details of it as well. So, like...
What did you say, 108?
168.
168, they were all murders they did.
well, legally speaking, we cannot say whether or not they were or were
Well,
not
actually,
murders.
Right, actually, hang on, back up a second, because if they're dumping raw sewage into stuff, then statistically you can actually work out how many human life years the degradation of the environment has actually cost.
That's not murder, remember, it's at best manslaughter.
Yeah. We accidentally killed people by dumping all that sewage, so who can say if it's bad or not?
We accidentally killed people by putting fucking flammable cladding on the fucking walls.
So yes, Southern Water, instead of treating the sewage as is actually required by law, although apparently you're not required to treat it after heavy rainfall, or just after rainfall, then you can just let rip. Apparently that's how water legislation works. It's fucking bizarre.
Sorry, just on rainy Fash Island, you don't have to do work when it rains.
Yes.
But only if you're the business itself, not
Guys,
an actual
do you know
human
what
being.
that is? I've just realised what that is. Do you know why that rule is in place? It's fantastic.
Is it health and safety gone mad?
No, it's literally your shit doesn't stink when it rains.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's been going, if it's not been raining, everyone will be able to smell it. But if it has been raining, then that'll keep it out the air, so go hog wild. That's what that literally is.
So what Southern Water did is it stored millions of litres of raw sewage in big wastewater storm tanks, usually waited but not always until it rained, and then while it was raining they would just open the storm tanks and release everything into the sea.
It's not raining, but it is cloudy. That's basically raining. Just fuck it, open the sluice gates.
So like after this, Southern covered up their own like illegal releases of again raw sewage by manipulating the data of its own self-reporting to the authorities, thereby avoiding more than 90 million worth of penalties. So the fine they got now of 90 million isn't actually like an extra fine. It's just a pickup of the fines they should have had over the past years with nothing on top.
I'm just picturing Christopher Robin walking around next to the sewage tanks going, tut, 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 it looks like rain, while Winnie the Pooh hastily is filling in and forging the weather documents so we can get rid of their lagoons of liquid shit.
Wait, Pooh, that's not compliant to the provisions that we were required to fulfill.
Now you know why he's called Winnie the Pooh.
So Winnie the Pooh, instead of with a jar of honey, he's got a storm tank full of shit on his head. Let me just read you a little bit of what it looks like when it's in practice. This is from one of the people giving a victim impact statement. This is just after New Year's Day on January 2016, when one of the plants was pumping raw sewage into the water. And I'm quoting now, "It carried on for 4 or 5 days. Sanitary towels, condoms, and tissues could be seen in among the mooring lines of our boats. The water was milky white."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Was Mr. Blobby involved?
There was a disgusting and strong smell of sewage. So, of course, not only are they just destroying marine habitats, but in the meantime, they've also helped destroy the oyster and shellfish industries in that area, which are quite important. We've talked about fishing and coastal towns before at length, so I won't repeat. But we're just fucking doing this again. And according to one expert who was testifying earlier, it's very possible because the Environment Agency bizarrely does not do any testing of river water for fecal matter. It just doesn't do that at all. So it's very possible that the scale of illegal sewage discharge in the UK is more than 10 times than what the Environmental Agency currently estimates, because they simply don't want to do the measurements necessary.
Speaking about total shit being sprayed across our environment, Rob, tell us about the Progressive Alliance.
Well, don't let me tell you. I'll let some other people tell you. I have a fine article here. It's from a while ago, and it's been on my open tabs for a while because I hate it. It's been on my hit list for a good while. Yeah, thank you. Because I fucking hate it so much. This is from May 2021, in The Guardian, and it's by Caroline Lucas, Green MP, Layla Moran, the loser of the Lib Dem leadership contest, and do not trust this man, Clive Lewis of the Labour Party, who is...
See now, any listeners who have subscribed to our Patreon and have heard the most recent premium episode are going to have some extra context for this one, so do sign up and go listen. Carry on, Rob.
I rolled my eyes so hard I think I've sprained them.
Just so I grasp the scale, I not only read this, but I read 2 additional pieces. There's a Compass, which is a very centrist think tank, and they made a leaflet called "All You Need to Know About a Progressive Alliance," and as well as a speech.
It's just in 72-point font. It's shit.
Now
Again.
it runs to about 18 pages, but it is mainly filled with shit. And
is it an upside down Ron Paul with "It's Not Happening" written beside it? Because that would about sum it up.
And I also read a fascinating speech by Clive Lewis to the Social Liberal Forum William Beveridge lecture. The things
I hate every single one of those words.
All right, so I'm just going to start reading the article now. All right. Politics is changing rapidly, but too often parties lag behind the people. The shifting tectonic plates of climate, Brexit, technology, and the politics of identity, both personal...
Way to mix your metaphors there, Jesus
Are we
Christ.
talking about 2012 again?
And the politics of identity...
David, we never stopped.
Both personal and national, change everything. In the maelstrom, we can only cling to our values and culture, and what we find remarkable and reassuring is that these are so similar for all of us.
What?
Yes, apparently so.
Fucking citation fucking needed on that one.
Each of us wants a society that is much more equal, sustainable, and democratic, and we know we must work across...
With the exception of trans people. Sorry, what?
No, hang on. So each of us wants a society that is more democratic. Is that what they're saying here?
Yes, and equal and sustainable.
Okay. Right, I'm just going to ask people to just hold that democracy point in your head as we
go through this. Yeah.
Yes.
And we know we must work across all tribal boundaries to get there. See, tribalism.
I fucking hate these clowns who think that the reason why the James O'Brien take of I think he calls it the footballification of politics, and it's like, motherfucker.
Yeah, do you know what it is? Just as there can be absolutely no peace with the kind of fucking head-banging dipshits who think that, like, you know what I mean, Diane Abbott is anti-English or some shit, there can also be absolutely no fucking peace with the kind of, like, centrist melt dickhead who thinks that, like, politics was better when, like, people didn't talk about it. When everyone just sat around and accepted the sensible people in charge and everything was good. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely no peace. Like this is all about, they've had their little hierarchy for a long time, which always got its way. Brexit came along, and for the first time in their fucking lives, they didn't get exactly what they wanted. And now, from their view, this means, it's just all tribalism, and you all need to come back to the heel of the sensible adults.
Yeah.
And,
just,
publicly
the idea that shitting their fucking pants for like 5 years now at this point.
But yeah, well, they just can't possibly grasp the implication that politics could in any way, shape, or form be a real arena of contest for differing visions of real material, like, contests,
These are the same people.
Well, no, because it's childish to have like beliefs and like ideology and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
It's childish to not want to kill the poor.
We should feed all of the hungry children, and they go, well, that's a nice like fucking dream. Do you want some unicorns with that? Like, do you know what I mean? Impossible bullshit. What we should actually do is tax credits and racism.
No, but they do.
You know what I mean?
They
fuck every single one of these like pricks.
But what we think hardly matters compared with what people are doing. They know the big dominant parties aren't working, and that no single party has a monopoly on wisdom. And they know.
Oh, really? Shove your wisdom up your fucking shithole. Do you know what I mean? Wisdom, yeah, fuck you.
And they know the Tories are given huge advantages before any election campaign even begins, and then there's some blah blah about how first past the post is bad. I mean, it is bad, but that's not the reason these people are losers.
Do you know what it is though? Any single one of these fucking pricks would like jump at they would push you and everyone you've ever cared about under a bus to get into a fucking coalition with the Tories.
Oh yeah.
As much as they piss and fucking moan about, politics isn't a level playing field, first past the post and everything, they would absolutely Lib Dem you for like a fucking, the tiniest like sliver of power.
I mean, the amazing thing is like the thing they're referencing is a poll done by Compass, which does like show big support for like coalitions and that kind of stuff. But this is the question that poll asked, and I'll see if you can work out whether or not this is a fair question.
Was the question they asked? Do you fucking like James O'Brien think?
It's pretty close. The actual question they asked was, do you think that political parties that broadly agree with each other should work together at election time or stand against each other?
What?
I mean, broadly is doing pretty much all of the lifting in that fucking question. Jesus Christ. Broadly, I mean, like...
Yeah, well, again, though, it's like, they broadly agree with one another because policies are for children, and what you really need is just a sort of vague feeling of good. That's what you should vote for. No. You shouldn't vote for the Tories because they're the bad guys. They own all the Star Destroyers. You should vote for, like, Labour, even though all of Labour policies are directly stolen from the Tories and they constantly attack them from the right. But you should vote for them because they're the good guys.
No, genuinely, like the way this essentially works, like, let's cut a long story short. They're essentially going, listen, all the good parties should be pursuing liberalism, right? And so they should all be broadly agreeing with each other. That's how it should be. And therefore we insist that it is that way. And anyone who's in those parties who isn't adhering to that line is an outlier and someone who's not really representative of their party. No true Scotsman, but for liberalism. And by contrast, they have to fight the Tories because the Tories are dismantling liberalism.
To beat the Tories, we need to... Because the whole thing about this is the one thing the progressive line wants is proportional representation. That's all they really want, and it's their answer to everything. To beat the Tories, we need to beat the system, and that means being smart about working together.
To beat the Tories, we need like a sack full of hammers and like 50 stout men.
Yeah, and a purge-style event where none of us will be prosecuted afterwards.
Oh, fuck it, I'll take the hit.
While we are splintered, the right-wing parties have consolidated, the Tories swallowed the Brexit party, but progressives remain split, competing for the same voters. We divide, they conquer. And yet
the Tories didn't swallow the Brexit party, you fucking morons. You fucking rubes. That's not what happened. Oh, where do they think it came from?
And yet poll after poll shows that there is a progressive majority. We need to shape and win that majority. So I was curious, like, what is then a progressive? This is from the Clive Lewis Wonder speech. Who are progressives? ? Can you say yes?
This is progressive speaking.
Can you?
Excellent. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Can you say yes to the following questions? Are you prepared to challenge economic self?
Who is John Galton?
Yes, we got it, Alistair. Oh, God.
Are you prepared to challenge economic self-interest in favour of the common good? Do you think that our political problems come from too little democracy, not from too much?
Well, I mean, this is incredible because like Clive Lewis and none of the other pricks involved don't believe a fucking word of this piss, do they?
No, they don't.
You know what I mean?
No,
because they think that like they're not prepared to challenge like economic fucking whatever it was for the sake of the greater good. And
I mean, this is propaganda.
they all absolutely believe that the problem is too much democracy. If we'd never had that referendum, then Tony Blair would be fucking like God Emperor by now.
It's deeper than that, though. It's not that there's too much democracy in that we had a referendum. There's too much democracy as in you have a plurality of choice rather than one versus them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They don't want you to vote for small parties because
we must build the liberalism megazord.
Well, pretty much, yes. That is the Progressive Alliance is the liberal megazord.
And it's like this is, they don't believe it either. This is pure propaganda. This is an exercise in selling selfish liberal fuckers on the idea that actually they're virtuous, which is the single most annoying part about everything to do with liberalism, is that it insists that actually it's good that they are in favour of starving children. right?
In the coming two by-elections, it seems illogical for us to fight each other for votes that just let the Tories through. In the absence...
It's weird that they've only just decided that this is illogical to do now that the fucking Labour Party's being led by a different person than it was in the 2019 and 2017 elections. But maybe it's just me picking out interesting, unnoteworthy points of data. I don't know.
In the absence of a deal between Labour and the Liberal Democrats, though, the choice for progressive voters won't be easy. So this is the point where there's literally...
the Lib Dems had a fucking choice of trying to form a coalition with Gordon Brown's Labour, and they didn't.
And wasn't Gordon Brown's Labour offering election reform?
Yeah, they were.
Election. Yeah. Yep. Weird how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
The joke is they'd have probably done it too.
Yeah.
It's the bizarre thing, actually done it. None of this AV referendum bullshit. Gordon Brown's lot would have probably done it because they did the Scottish Parliament lot, and it was a lot of the same people behind the scenes. And if they were dumb enough to do the Scottish Parliament, they'd be dumb enough to do PR.
Yeah. I mean, the less shit the leadership of the Labour Party's been, the more painfully in good faith everything they've done has been.
I mean, Gordon Brown was pretty fucking shit. But
just never fucking forget as well that, in the last elections, the Lib Dems purposefully tanked Emma Dencote in the Grenfell seat to get whatever that fucking ex-Tory Sam Gyimah, to let that fucking prick fucking torpedo. So a Tory got back in control of the fucking Grenfell seat, which is just gross beyond all belief.
It's the whole George Carlin thing where it's a big club and you're not in it. That is their approach to politics. Mm-hmm. They're in a big club and you're not.
Negotiations between Labour, the Liberal Democrats, and presumably the Greens are so much easier when more seats are in play. So ahead of the next election, we owe it to progressive voters to offer easier choices by negotiating arrangements that increase the chances of progressive candidates winning, while also ensuring that all parties are more fairly represented in Westminster. So what they're literally saying is,
Westminster.
You remember how, at 5 minutes ago, they were talking about that if you're a progressive, you think there should be more democracy. What they're literally doing here is limiting all your choices down to the Tories and whatever cunt this cabal of shitheads comes up with.
Yeah, it's great because it is the exact same sort of approach to democracy that the Labour right has, which is, would probably describe themselves as liberal as well.
Basically, the bread and circus of politics, right? Because what we're very clear is it's a bunch of limps who all ideologically want to be in lockstep and push for the same things, are trying to sell you on this idea that actually being told how to vote is democratic, and actually because there's different colours in different parts of the country on the ballot, that means it's really democratic, right? When in reality is, no, they just want you all to shut up and vote for the Liberal, so the nice Liberal can come back in, fix the Brexit thing that you forced upon them, and just, get rid of the nasty, bad marketeer Tories, essentially. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's what this actually is. But, with a lot of propaganda justification to convince you that they are not just in power, not just that they're the ones in ascendancy, not just that this is their world order, but that it's right and good.
But then, bafflingly, when you read the Compass leaflet on what is a progressive alliance, there's the following. A progressive alliance isn't all about standing aside in seats for others or demanding they do so for you. It isn't about top-down deals imposed from behind central closed doors. For this to work, we will need, and this is one of my favorite. This is how you know you're dealing with melts. We will.
I just want to say, I thought it was the case, and I've just googled it, and it is. Compass was, Chuck O'Mona was part of Compass at one point. So that's.
He's been in all the parties except for the Greens. Maybe he's a Green by now. Who knows?
Yeah, I think this is one of the first things that he was in. To be fair.
For this to work, we will need one agreed tactical voting website, so there is no doubt where to campaign and vote tactically. This list...
We need to choose our fact checkers personally.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking weird when this agreed upon tactical voting website just keeps pulling up Lib Dems to vote for? Really weird.
And also, I love this. Like, when we don't want this to be top down, it should be organic and from the bottom up. But also, we're going to build a website that tells you how to vote. Who writes that website? Who has control over it? Well, don't worry your pretty little head about that.
I wonder if the people who put that website together are going to be democratically elected. Yeah.
Yeah, the website's going to be written by 7 million people across the country. They're just going to hold a lottery and give everyone a line of code each.
A line of code, all right.
But then bafflingly, I mean, there's so many flaws with this. It's amazing. Bafflingly, in the same compass piece, they write as well, this is not to assume that voters will automatically switch to the best placed progressive candidates. They will make up their own mind. So they want to restrict the candidate list down to one progressive quote-unquote candidate to face off against the Tories, but then admitting by themselves that, if you don't put up a Labour candidate, if there's only fucking a Lib Dem standing somewhere, like, they seem to assume, but also not assume, that all the Labour voters will actually turn up and turn out for a Lib Dem or a Green, or the Greens will come out for a Labour vote, or like all that shit. They just assume that everybody who doesn't vote Tory is just a progressive who wants the nice things.
I'm gonna bust out video games here, right? So strap in. The game Disco Elysium, which is excellent, and yes, I think it qualifies as literature, and at some point I want to do an actual deep dive on it on this podcast when enough time has passed.
I think everything with words in it qualifies as literature, to be fair.
I think Disco Elysium's words are particularly literary, let's put it that way. Anyway, in it has different factions in political ideologies that it comes up with its own names for, because it's meant to be like a parallel of our own world, so that you get to see it all with fresh eyes.
Yeah,
Very cool.
It's set in like fake France, isn't it? Is it fake France?
I think it's fake Estonia, actually.
Yeah. It's kind of it's French coded, but yeah.
It's kind of like fake. It feels like fake Estonia or equivalent kind of country, with like French stuff imported on top. But anyway, they call the liberals in it moralists, right? And moralism is the name of their philosophy, and it is liberalism, right? And it's very sharply written. And the sharpest part of its writing is actually the fact that they call them moralists, because the defining factor of liberalism is that they will convince you, their absolute conviction that their view of the world and their right to world and their answers for the world are all the morally correct ones. If the sensible adults all get in the room, they'll choose the right outcome. They'll choose the moral outcome. And so what's happening here, and the reason I raise this, is you're saying, they're saying, oh, well, the voters will make their choice. But implicit in this is, the voters will make the right choice because the option we're giving them is the morally correct.
The good moral voter. Yeah.
Yeah, so they will come to the fore because they cannot do otherwise. And to make sure they cannot do other ways, we'll restrict them to a choice between us and
We will
Tories,
eliminate as best we can any democratic choice.
And it's an amazing kind of double think they get going on for this, because some of them genuinely fucking believe this
shit.
shit.
Yeah, for sure.
They genuinely believe it while they act in complete opposition to it. It's very wonderful. Like, it's genuinely like just quite astonishing to see that you've got these people whose brains have essentially been rewired to say and communicate and think and deeply believe if you challenge them one thing, while in practice they operate almost like a lizard-like brain response on an entirely different structure when it comes to their interpersonal political lives. There's really quite fascinating.
There's also an amazing sort of dig at the Greens as well, which is amazing. As we moved to a general election in the coming years, we all recognize that the Greens, worst hit by the electoral system, which is true, I think, must be...
I mean, I think they were worse hit by a Corbyn leadership.
Yeah,
to be fair.
and
they will they're never going to forgive socialists.
Yeah, but how did Corbyn get to be leader?
Rampant democracy.
Yeah.
We all recognise that the Greens, worst hit by the electoral system, must be allowed the chance to win some seats if their rising votes are to be used smartly. Underlying all this is the need for Labour to back proportional representation at the September conference.
Get it fucking up, yeah.
Yeah, so let me right. I am a Scottish Green.
Are you really?
I'm going to say... Yeah, and I'm going to say something which
you've never mentioned it before.
I know, but I like everyone to know exactly where I'm coming from, what my biases are. So, the Greens have a perfectly equal shot at all of the seats that exist under first past the post. And yes, first past the post creates great incumbent advantage for the largest two parties, but it's not absolute. And they've got as much of a shot as the Lib Dems do and as many others do. And the Green Party of England and Wales, and only the Green Party of England and Wales, has managed to get a first past the post seat, right? The Scottish Greens do not have any constituency seats in Scotland for Westminster Parliament or for the Scottish Parliament, right? They've just never been able to pull it off. And looking at recent election returns, I'm sceptical about when that'll ever come to pass. Meanwhile, in England, they've got Brighton, and only Brighton. And from what I can tell, they mainly got Brighton by pouring both their local candidate spend and their national party spend all into that one seat. And that seems to be how they're holding it too. I out-competing by virtue of not having the same spending limit as the other parties. Like, the idea that they should be allowed to compete, like this is sophistic language. Yeah. They are bad at doing elections. Like they are not giving
the. They are bad at elections.
they are bad at elections. They don't know how to appeal to enough of the electorate to command a majority. They don't know how to build a coalition. They know how to appeal to an audience that is just large enough to get them some proportional seats, but will not be larger.
What if we, instead of doing competing politics, we build like a protected marketplace, if you will, where we limit it quite strictly. And then within that tightly controlled marketplace of ideas, there is a moral Green and a bad Tory. Surely then.
You see, I love the Keynesian marketplace of ideas.
The vibe I get from this Progressive Alliance is that they're probably all tur.
I mean, probably, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have bangs, you're not allowed in.
I mean, they're liberals, so it's a safe bet to say that they are.
Yeah, like the Swerfs, definitely, I'd say, for sure.
I mean, they don't get out of bed for anything less than a Swerf.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know, fundamentally, it kind of comes down to this. It's like the Green approach to campaigning, which I've often tried to criticise and got nowhere with, and again, at me about this if anyone disagrees, is to basically say, we have a position that is right, and our job is to give people confidence that we can enact this position and it will make things better. And it's kind of very interesting when you look at it like that, because it's not we need to convert people to seeing the world from a particular ideological basis. It's about we've got the policies that can make the difference.
Oh yeah, they do.
And our job is just to give people confidence that we can enact these policies, not convince them that these are the right policies. Just
they've got policies.
Get them confidence that we can deliver.
What is this?
I just want to say briefly, like, it shows that they, like, these people hate what, Corbyn did and who he was so much they refuse to do anything like what he tried to do, which was to actually say, here are the things that I stand for, and this is why you should vote for them.
Because that's dangerous populism.
Not
getting
responsible
people to like you is
progressivism.
populist.
What is essential is that any alliance is built on values, vision, and the spirit of a new kind of politics.
Right, well, they couldn't. If they couldn't think of a third thing that started with V,
no.
Why should we fucking vote for them? Huh?
Why? Like, whenever you hear the phrase "a new kind of politics," just like fucking tune out every single time.
I mean, and remember, this is written this year, so after Corbyn.
I honestly thought you were going to say policy, but fucking new politics. Excellent.
A politics of failed imagination, little hope, and low effort has got us into this mess. We not responsible for any of that, naturally.
Do you know what? If they could commit to a policy of, like, whatever you just said, then I could respect it, because it's saying this is a thing that we think should happen, rather than just vague, wishy-washy nonsense where you could just fill in the blanks with whatever you want.
We need a new politics that is in genuine and authentic service to the people, because of an abiding belief in the best of people and what they can believe, but what they can achieve, given support. And we mean...
Did a genie write this?
Yeah. What they can achieve given support. Reading between the lines there is they're sending tanks into council estates.
And we...
it's the electoral equivalent of that, isn't it? It's like, we will insist that you vote the right way, citizen, by providing you support.
And we mean all the people.
David.
And we mean
Calm down.
all the people, whether they voted for Brexit or against, from town, city, or beyond.
Doubt that very much.
And also towns.
I think their first act as a progressive alliance in power would be to institute skull measuring before you're allowed to vote.
Well, like, the whole thing is basically, they are dead serious. They want everyone, regardless of how they voted on Brexit, to just do what they're told.
Yeah. So I was kind of baffled because this whole article doesn't mention any of these progressive policies and values that are supposed to carry the day.
I mean, Rob...
it's too much to ask for, I suppose.
I mean, it's not even that it's too much to ask for. It's just they don't exist. It's, get PR, and then the policies. Well, then the politics.
Question mark. Then regulated profit.
So the Compass leaflet does say there are policy areas where there is overlap between Labour, the Lib Dems, and the Greens, among which they list climate, inequality, good jobs, care, and democracy.
Oh, they want good jobs. I thought they wanted bad jobs.
No, not bad jobs, good jobs. But none of these, in the leaflet, in Clive Lewis's speech, they just list the problems. But for none of them, they give a solution because it runs up.
The problems are bad, but the causes are very good.
But the central problem is, of course, of this whole fucking thing is the moment you try to talk about any substantive policy-based solution or an idea how to get people good jobs or better democracy or whatever the fuck, the moment you do that, this whole progressive alliance blows the fuck apart because the Liberals, the Greens and Labour don't agree on these things.
Do you know what's even worse, right? Can you list that group of things again, please? That they said very well.
There's a long list. I'll give you two. There's one by Clive Lewis and one by Progress. Sorry,
was it trucking and fucking?
No, you said you gave a short.
All right,
you gave a short list that included, good jobs,
climate, inequality, good jobs, care, and democracy.
So, do you know what the real problem is? That they're all separated?
Yes.
The problem is if you start trying to talk about the structural common factors that lead all these things to be expressions of each other, because those are all connected.
I mean,
and you and I can all express that capitalism, unfettered,
James,
and all of its issues.
James, we've already established that the causes are very, very good.
Very
so
good. Yeah, exactly. But this is a problem. That's why they'll never be able to agree, because they can't actually begin to talk of, for example, climate and jobs as being related in any way, shape, or form when they are, And that is the more fundamental issue, right? Is that they do pick and mix policy, basically, rather than actually looking at what is actually required for a full course.
Clive Lewis in that idiotic speech also mentioned some pressing problems. So these are not the same as the policy overlaps, but these are things that he thinks are important. The pandemic, ecological breakdown, AI and automation, surveillance capitalism, and the crisis of democracy, which are all problems he just doesn't offer any solutions to any of.
This absolutely sounds
capitalism.
This absolutely sounds like he was writing this at like 5 a.m. the morning it was due, and just desperately clutching at straws, like, the Terminator. We have to look out for the Terminator.
Is surveillance capitalism having a credit score? Is that what that is?
Well,
no, surveillance capitalism is when the Terminator looks at you.
No shit. Surveillance capitalism is an actual thing that people on the left should care about. Like, there's a lot to it, and it's bigger than we could get into right here.
Oh, hang on, is this the fucking the Bluetooth in the shop shit that tracks you about and stuff?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
okay.
There's a lot we could talk about there, and we should do a future episode on it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
But
I just hadn't heard it called that.
What strikes you from that list is that's all things that middle-class bougie twats would care about.
But to be fair, I also care about the climate and ecological breakdown, if I'm fairly honest with you.
Exactly. Did I stutter?
Fair enough. I had that coming. That's correct.
Yeah, sit back down.
Sorry, Rob, but you walked right into that one.
No, that's
sit back down on your fucking throne.
Right, I'm fucking DMing Riley and doing a fucking plating show.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but for real, right? Okay, obviously, we all care about the climate catastrophe because it's fucking, like, it does affect all of us. But look at the rest of the items on that list, right?
I do live in a climate.
But like, this is the thing. Like, the rest of the items.
Yeah, it is. I wish I was on the beach right now, but specifically that one beach that makes you old.
What's it? Is that so you can reach the cold embrace of the void quicker?
Not the shit-covered beach in Kent, are you sure?
If I could be on any beach, it would be Omaha Beach in 1945. 44. Fuck that.
Hey, David, which side?
Just the year after the war, just there, like, picking up fucking scrap metal or something.
just kicking bits of ammunition that look like they haven't gone off yet.
But then, bafflingly, you read the Compass leaflet again, and what they then go on to say is, what matters most is not policy or definitions, but behaviors. What sets progressive
decorum.
What sets progressive alliance politics apart is the culture of tolerance and respect for others, regardless of party.
These fuckers have never heard of like the paradox of tolerance, have they?
Yeah, when they say like a culture of tolerance, what they mean is they want all the minorities to stop shouting at the racists.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's too much shouting, and it's like on one side you've got people shouting the N-word, and then on the other side you've got people saying, "Hey, don't do that, please."
Just give J.K. Rowling a weekly anti-trans column in the Times, and then we'll have an open and tolerant society. This is the spiked online model. This is free speech above all. That's what that is.
It's the problems and solution thing again, right? Because on one hand, the problems, racism, are very, very bad. But on the other hand, the actual causes of these problems, the structural status inequalities that liberals benefit from, are very, very fucking good. And so the solution is to basically go, well, yeah, racism's bad, but we're not going to do anything about it, so pipe down.
No, because as far as they're concerned, racism is when you say the bad words, and only when you say the bad words.
Yeah, nothing that actually changes status.
Listen. Black people have an entire month for their history.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan's "We Live Here" as well.
We all come from one tribe or another, Labour, Green, Liberal, for many different reasons. But only as open. I
mean, that everyone's annoyed at that sentence, but it started out so much worse because, like, I'm glad it continued after one tribe, because I thought we all come from one tribe, and then I was like straight in the car with a fucking bat.
But only as open tribes, retaining our identities while working everywhere together for the common good, can we hope to create a new and good society.
I mean, there's a very immediate question, is like, who's common good? Like, there's just this eschewing any sort of...
the common good.
The common good,
that automatically, obviously includes you.
Yeah,
obvious.
You're good too. And also the good society. I mean, James, that's what you were on. This is the moral society, because that's a moral word. Good is, that's the moral society. We are thinking, campaigning, and building together. And where we disagree, it is done with respect in a spirit of learning.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I disagree with this person. You ask yourself, why do I disagree with them? And it's because they have fundamental material opposition to my personal ability to exist.
Yeah, whenever you see anyone like talking about like, oh well, it's fine to disagree politically, but you have to do it with respect. Oh, I can't imagine like not having friends of different political persuasions. That person is an absolute fucking weapon who is completely insulated from the consequences of like modern politics.
It's fucking bad enough that my parents are like, Tory is Tory gets, and like, I can't choose family, but friends you can.
Yeah,
I've got a life hack for you. You can choose family.
You can.
Yeah,
it is true. No lies spoken.
We see the direction our society is heading, and we know there is a better way. We don't have the luxury of time to get there. So and bear that phrase in mind, because there's a to-do list coming.
Love getting homework.
If old-style tribal leaders refuse to change, then we will respectfully work around them.
And this was written this year, was it?
In May 29 of this year.
Because it definitely sounds like
tribal leaders.
Yeah,
we'll go around them. That's some fucking British Empire shit.
Yes.
What they mean by old school tribal leaders is Jeremy Cromlin.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, do you know what I've been hearing? Like, Rob listed the parties earlier, the different tribes, right? Labour tribe, Lib Dem tribe, Green tribe. Everyone lived in peace until the Jeremy Corbyn nation attacked, basically.
It's like fucking Gandhi and Civ.
This is just Disco Elysium again. It's just, here's the moral intern here to quell the uprising.
Because
The uprising being people trying to express vague platitudes through a shitty vote and a shitty system for a probably shitty party.
Because this latent progressive majority in our society just needs to be unlocked. Quiet, bad people.
Just needs to be unlocked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What achievement do we have to grind to unlock it? Do we have to do 10,000 racisms?
You have to do
on hard
10,000
mode?
open mind quests. You have to talk. It's like Jess Phillips. You have to knock on 25,000 Tory doors, and then your mind is so open that you will unlock the moral majority.
It's total garbage, because what we're actually talking about is we need to lock away.
Do not say
all the. Well, yeah, I know I'm repeating myself this episode, but when don't I? Right?
The thing that we need to unlock is the chastity cage that Clive Lewis finds him in. That's all
God.
this is. Yeah, that's it.
I can't believe
But
you,
he
of
just
all
can't
people,
come.
is doing horny on the pod.
Just like
This is just what
Critical
it is.
support for it, though, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, welcome to the club.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
you could have picked a better target than Clive Lewis, but we'll stand it critically.
Yeah.
Look, the heart of comedy is the subversion of expectations. So.
Correct. And I've managed to fuck that up as well, so you're welcome.
There's no subversion there, though.
No.
All right.
The heart of comedy is when you explain what the heart of comedy is, clearly.
The heart of comedy is listening to different podcasts.
The heart of comedy is journeying up the river of progressive alliances.
Very strongly disagree with the idea of listening to any podcasts, let alone different ones.
Yeah, I think we should.
This one.
Yeah,
I think we should all engage in a great podcast alliance, right? Where we stand down all the other podcasts apart from podcasting as practice,
Yes.
and everyone should listen to and donate to this one.
Yeah, we'll just subsume Chapo, TF,
Exactly.
Real Politic.
Because we all want the same thing, which is to entertain our
Yes.
listeners, right?
which was the podcast? Which was the podcast that made the movie about the apartment being haunted by Jeffrey Epstein's ghost? or whatever?
Red Scare.
Oh, Red Scare.
Right.
Yeah, everyone. No, can I just say Red Scare should definitely be stood down with prejudice.
Anyway, so that's the end of the article. But the Compass group fortunately has a to-do list for us to get engaged with. Well, not for us, because this is all grassroots.
This is a real fucking roller coaster of emotions. This, and that's the end of the article. But there's more.
Yeah, there is. There is a huge amount to do, and I'll read you some of the key steps. Building trust between party leaders, MPs, and activists. Caroline Lucas, Layla Moran, and Clive Lewis are showing the way.
No, they're not.
Again,
none of those figures are doing that.
We must also build trust at the local and regional levels. Again, this is
come on.
Must stress, this is not a top-down project. This is grassroots.
These guys of all people, these guys know how huge of a cunt every single MP in Parliament is.
We must identify what a fair and effective target seats are and securing the best means by which to win them. All right, we'll just do that. Work up a
fair and effective number of target seats. So we don't want to win too much, because that would be unfair. You know what I mean? If we had too much power.
It's but that's the fucking Lib Dem dream, isn't it? Even in their wildest political fantasies, they're the junior member of
the minority party. Yeah.
In the Compass thing, I didn't bring it up because it's too boring and number wank. But they had some poll prof crunch the numbers, and it's if we do the best possible.
Oh well, surely if they had a poll prof do something, surely that was worth our time.
But I think even in their example, if I remember it correctly, so if all the dominoes fall completely correct, then it's still 10 seats between the Tories and the Progressive Alliance. So there's no guarantee that they would even fucking work.
Well, with numbers like that, how can you argue?
We must work up a broad policy agenda for a Progressive Alliance and build public backing for it. Dusts
I do
hands
like this.
comically.
The policies, yeah, exactly. The policies, they'll just come later, naturally, because there'll be no disagreements whatsoever over whose interests lie where.
The important thing is that we bring balance to the force.
We must help councils help councils form alliances and develop progressive alliance administrations, not least in London.
Yeah, what we need is the Warsaw Pact, but for councils.
I mean, what they need to do is help the fucking every single like Labour councillor into early fucking retirement.
Imagine like if you're that family being evicted in Waltham Forest, right? But this time you're not being evicted by a Labour council, but by a progressive alliance council. Wouldn't you feel just like much better about that?
Yeah, the fucking eviction notice is served on like a rainbow-coloured paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like, you know, let's even take that at face value just for the shits and giggles, right? Like, can you imagine? Like, we're basically saying, we need a progressive alliance of councils. What you mean? You want to gather together regional authorities to come up with some kind of cooperative structure that sits above them and helps them coordinate their efforts and maybe share resources and know-how and funding. And basically, you want to create a fucking shadow government out of regional councils to oppose the actual government.
I am convinced, as a member of the Revachol CLP, this can only lead to good things.
Well,
Yeah, what these pricks want, they don't want to like win control of the government because we've got control of a government at home.
And also, this is the final bit on their to-do list. Also an easy tick, like a quick get, so we can all feel good about ourselves.
We all love an easy win, don't we?
Establish the benefits of collaborative politics in the minds of the media, that first, and hearts and hopes of the country. So let's just,
That's really telling.
Yes.
The media thinks about things, but the average person just feels
Has
and goes
vibes.
by,
Yeah.
reckons and vibes. Yeah.
And also the assumption that like the media will be cooperative with whatever the fuck this shit is.
Also the implicit assumption it will just roll downhill naturally from there. Like you give it to the media, and the media manufacture consent.
No, surely
maybe?
not. I've never heard of that before.
No, because what you'll find is that the media, right, they're all private, so they're at the behest of the marketplace of ideas, and if they don't provide the right ideas for progressive people to take on, then they'll just simply not buy the papers.
Yeah, but this is a
That's
Keynesian marketplace of ideas.
Yeah, strangely. Hang on, sorry. What's interesting about that logic, David, is if you then apply that to the whole electoral alliance principle, strangely they don't seem to be countenancing it. People might just not show up to vote, or perhaps they are.
Oh, that's really weird.
God
Hang
damn.
on, can we think of any recent examples of when something like that could have happened? How about
no, I can't.
let's see what happens when you take a choice away from voters. How about Hartlepool, when you provide them with a shit tier candidate for the party that's supposed to be actually good, and people just don't turn up to vote?
I can't. I'm struggling, David. I can't work out what happens then.
Wasn't there that other thing? Wasn't there that thing with the local councils and
Yeah, somewhere earlier this year.
yeah, that went well, I believe.
I mean,
Maybe I got that wrong.
But I can't begin to stress how much I hate this shit. Not just because it's ideologically incoherent, it's practically stupid. It's just empty words for people, for James O'Brien to have a little stiffy over under his desk. It's just fucking garbage. The worst thing about all of this is that the soft, melty left who were never really on board with the project anyway, they'll all get sidetracked in this stupid fucking cul-de-sac of the Progressive Alliance and, electoral reform. You keep fucking hearing this bullshit again and again and again because it's all just technocratic bullshit fixes to structural problems, and all this shit just drains the energy out of the room, and it's so fucking awful.
Yeah.
Do you know why you really hate it, Rob?
It's because I'm not a fan of the I want a pure marketplace of idea. There's no Gold's Gulch in the Progressive Alliance.
No, it's that this isn't politics. Like Jamie was saying, we're doing a politics episode. Truth is, none of what's been discussed tonight has anything to do with politics. It's not really politics. It is a elaborate propaganda exercise to obscure the fact that politics are not allowed. And that's what everyone was told. Yeah, right? There's no actual political contest taking place here. It's just the Liberals are back on charge and they're trying to get things back on an even keel just the way they want them. There was actual politics for a little moment. You saw it from 2017 onwards, and none of this qualifies.
Yeah.
At the national level, there's no real politics taking place.
And also, we talked about it a bit in our premium episode about Cogtig. You remember when there was the whole Progressive Alliance that was going to stop Brexit, and Ken Clarke was going to be PM, and, it was like the Lib Dems and the Greens are like, yeah, we can really do this. But not with Jeremy Corbyn. It has to be us. There was that whole bullshit about, it must be an all-female cabinet led by Anna Soubry or some fucking bullshit as well. That's all that the shit is. It's just, let's all be nice to each other. That's like the fucking, the Armando Iannucci, the new podcast he's doing for the New Statesman. That's this shit. That's what this is. It's just so these cunts and some prick from Compass... So some prick from Compass can come on there and say, oh, we must do, electoral reform. And then fucking Iannucci, who's had his mind melted and all his edges sanded off by Brexit, can sit there and go, yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Isn't it nice to be nice? I just want
to say, I'm so glad Chris Morris is on fucking Twitter, because I feel like his brain would have been warped and melted and turned into part of shit. Because, I watched, a 2-minute excerpt from Peter Geddon earlier, and it still fucking slaps.
Speaking of things that slap, shall we do a little bit of comment or commentariat to close out this episode?
Jamie's relief is palpable.
Yeah. All right, round 1. You'll understand the importance of rural communities and the red tape local businesses have to navigate, the same as large conglomerates, and you'll think of simpler ways you can change your habits, which can help us care for the countryside so that future generations still have a countryside. Well done, Jeremy Clarkson, and thank you from the bees and insects enjoying the rewilding in Wiltshire. You've done a great job.
Comment.
I'm going commentariat.
I'm going to say commentariat.
Yeah, something. It's one of those pricks. You know what I mean?
It's commentariat. This is Annabelle Sanderson writing a glowing review about that stupid Jeremy Clarkson farm show in the Daily Express. When 3 Black England players, including national treasure Marcus Rashford, were sent racist messages on social media, mercifully few in number and many from overseas, it was front page news for days. The Twitterati spoke of little else. Politicians clambered over each other. Politicians clambered over one another to
Brendan.
It's Brendan, yeah.
No, but don't you want to see where this goes?
Ring the bell shaped like a giant cranium. It's Brendan time.
Politicians clambered over one another to wave their hastily written condemnations under the public's noses.
Brendan.
And yet, these same people are stum about the far more intense and violent tinged maligning of one-time national treasure, J.K. Rowling.
It's Brendan.
It is Brendan.
It's so obviously Brendan.
I sat with bated breath to hear who was the victim of the real racisms at the end of that. Cannot believe it was J.K. Rowling. Fucking hell.
Yeah, no, I was sitting there going, right, it's one of 2 people here. It's J.K. Rowling or it's fucking some weird defense piece in Spiked about...
really, it could have been anyone up to and including fucking Hitler, couldn't it? Really? Has the world ever been more racist towards an individual person than they have towards Hitler? Brendan O'Neill for Spiked.
I genuinely thought it might be a Spiked article about Dominic Cummings, about how he was the hard done by one.
But he's got critical support for Comrade Brittany, so he's good now.
Yeah, that's true.
And The Undertaker,
and The Undertaker. I'd forgotten about that.
There used to be a time when it was difficult to get into the police. You had to prove you had the potential to be the best, but they've
You had to prove to Sting that you wouldn't.
But they've totally watered down the entry requirements in order to be inclusive, and the results speak for themselves. Remember when the policemen were hard?
It's comment.
Yeah, that's out there. Yeah, I'm going to go comment on that one, actually.
I'm going to say commentary because
is that
why not?
Milo Edwards as Brendan O'Neill for yeah, comment.
Yeah, that is a comment. It came from the Daily Mail this time.
We're on point tonight.
On a baffling article by Richard Littlejohn, who saw a photo of a police officer standing outside.
Fucking Don't remind me of Richard Littlejohn's existence without a run-up, please. I ate just before we started recording.
Well, you did get a run-up. You got a whole comment on one of his articles.
But he wrote like a 500-word article. He saw a picture of a police officer, fat police officer standing outside.
Was he mad? Was he mad about the gays?
No, he was mad that the police officer standing outside Downing Street was not didn't have a very low BMI. Let's put it that way. That he was upset that he thought all the police officers should be trim and slim, so they can rip their trousers off and play.
Well, I guess that's personal growth then, because do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can remember when like every Richard Littlejohn fucking column was about the pink mafia and their insidious fucking influence on like British councils or whatever. Oh, you can't like you get arrested these days for hitting like people with your car, and that's just because of the pink mafia or some fucking deranged shit.
If an alien came from outer space, they would come to the conclusion that the UK population was Afro-Caribbean after watching TV for a minute or two, or trying to order some...
Whoa! Fuck yourself and your entire family, whoever this is.
After watching TV for a minute or two, or trying to order some shirts on the supermarket website.
Oh, fuck off!
I'm a little baby and I get very upset when I'm reminded that there are people that aren't white in this country.
Asda, Tesco, M&S,
fuck off!
Practically all bottles were, how can I put it without being censored, not of white Christian heritage.
Oh, what? Fuck off!
White Christian? Oh my god! Holy shit! Just casual anti-Semitism as he goes as well. Amazing. Keep going.
No, that's it.
Oh, right, okay.
This is either a comment or conservative women. It's one of the two.
Yeah,
I'm going to stare directly into the void. This is commentariat.
Is this Richard Littlejohn?
I'm gonna cling to hope.
Is Gary Bushell working again?
Right, I'm gonna abandon Alistair to the void here, and I'm gonna cling to the hope that this is comment.
Well, David, you were right. It's the best of both worlds. It's a comment on conservative women.
For fuck's sake.
All right, last round. I am old enough to remember when the council used to come round and clear street drains with a powerful vacuum attached to a tanker lorry.
Fuck me.
The size of this vacuum, you would not believe.
Fuck me.
Vacuum that could vacuum God.
Is this going to be like? Is this going to be like floods are actually caused by the EU regulation on Hoovers? Is that where this is going?
Nuclear powered Hoover.
Floods are God's punishment for EU regulations.
Flooding did happen, although not on the scale today. These services have almost disappeared, and one must ask the question, why? In all caps, misuse of funds,
Where
perhaps.
did they go?
I just picture on their knees screaming to the heavens, why, God, why have you forsaken us?
Nuclear-powered hoovers. Where are my nuclear-powered water hoovers with big lorry tanks?
This is fucking amazing. We see the street cleaning truck less often these days. Could it be due to decades of underfunding of council services? No, it's because of the gays.
Yeah. No, it's not because of the gays. It's because the street cleaning vacuum is now gay.
It's not a street cleaning vacuum. It's a powerful vacuum to clean up floods.
Again, a vacuum that could vacuum God himself.
Fellas.
Who's among us? Comment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah.
Commentariat. I'm going to go
That's
wild.
Jamie?
Oh, I'm abstaining.
All right. Well,
I think the public have had enough of comment or commentariat.
Yeah, you know what? Comment and commentariat should join forces and decide which question of each round should be comment or should be commentariat. None of this competing.
Yeah, we should have a more progressive comment or commentariat where it's all just like fucking headbangers from the Green Party of England and Wales.
Listener, you should write into
Sometimes I include The Guardian.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, that was a comment and it came from the BBC website.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
What was the article?
It was to do with the flooding in London.
It's not going to go off on one about Hoovers.
That's
Excellent.
Disappointingly pedestrian, to be honest. Like, yeah. Something like completely wild.
Remember when the comments were hard?
Yeah, and they came round every week.
Oh dear.
We'll call it quits there then, shall we?
Yeah.
Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/praxiscast. It is a $5 a month. You will get at minimum one bonus episode. Like we said, we've released our second one now with Wario Tifo or Grant from Real Politic, talking about Cuptig and all the joys contained therein. And we have another one which will be coming out quite shortly, within the next couple of weeks. And yeah, stay tuned for more news on that one. And I suppose
Buy t-shirts.
You also get Discord access.
Yeah.
You can join us in the Slam Duck Zone.
Oh yeah, you can you get the power to directly at me, and then be ignored.
There's just more channels for you to be ignored.
Yes.
Yeah, join the Patreon to find out delicious Italian cuisine recipes from Jamie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also buy t-shirts, another tap from our Praxis Cast store. We'll put a link in the show notes. And we will see you all next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Cheerio.
Cheers.
Bye.
See ya.
Right, outro music plays, la-di-da. All right, that was pretty good.
Outro music, please, you say?
Yeah, something like that.